Another Belmonte is leading Quezon City and another Sotto is helping out. They may be part of prominent political families, but Quezon City Mayor Joy Belmonte and Vice Mayor Gian Sotto hope to make a name for themselves in governing Quezon City. What are their plans for the next 3 years? We find out from them live. Welcome to New Day, Mayor Joy and Vice Mayor Gian. It's fantastic to have you here. Thank you.
Good morning, Ria, and good morning, Andre. And we're very happy to be here on your show.
Right. Well, it's been 2 days that you guys have occupied your posts as mayor and vice mayor, respectively. How has it been?
It's been very good. There are a lot of challenges, and so we've been very busy trying to learn the ropes. But so far, so good. Everybody's been very cooperative and supportive.
Vice Mayor, how was it for you?
It's been great, actually. Mayor Joy and I have been invited to quite a lot of engagements, and recently we're just really focusing on data gathering on what to do for the next 100 days.
How different is it for you now? Because you guys have been working in the city for many, many years. Is it very different?
Yes, because we work in the legislative department. So our role is really to make ordinances, and we've been very good at it. I'd like to brag because we've been winning awards for the quality of our legislation. But now I feel lucky to be in this new position because now I can now implement the many plans and policies that we legislated when we were in the Sangguniang Panlunsod. And it's so nice to have a vice mayor that truly supports also what I plan to do for the city.
Right. Speaking of what you plan to do, in your campaigns, you often talked about wanting to leave the same impact that your father left. How do you do that, but at the same time, carry it out in your own terms?
Well, actually, what I meant was that I'd like to have that work ethic that my father brought into the city. I'd like to professionalize the city the way he did because he comes from a corporate background. I'd like to bring in that discipline, that non-traditional perspective towards governance. But at the same time, he and I are very different, like night and day. His advocacies are so different from mine. As a woman, I fight for women and children's rights. I fight for the marginalized sectors, etc. And so far, in the 9 years that I've served as a vice mayor, I'd like to think that I've already created an identity for myself that is very different from my father's identity.
Okay, well, speaking of the dads, of course, Vice Mayor, we have to talk about your dad, who is Senate President Tito Sotto. Throughout your career, has he given you much advice, or does he give you the freedom to carry out your work the way you want?
He really constantly gives me advice, especially in being the vice mayor, since he served for one term during around 1988. But his advocacy is somewhat different from the advocacy that I am pushing for right now. Pero there are some points na pareho pa rin. His advocacy has always been anti-illegal drugs. And my advocacy is somewhat focused on that by strengthening families in Quezon City. So yun lang yung pagkakaiba.
Right, okay. Now, in your oath-taking speech last Sunday, Mayor, you said that you would implement ordinance-based and doable programs in your first 100 days. What exactly do you mean by this, and what are your priority programs for the largest city in Metro Manila?
Yeah, in the last 9 years, Mayor Herbert Bautista's priorities have been infrastructure and I guess these issues that are very globally important, like climate change, disaster risk reduction, all very good. But there are a lot of people who told me that social services were a little bit neglected, and they wanted me to go back to the basics, and that is what I meant. Go back to the gut issues of housing, of education, of livelihood, of health. No? And in the first 100 days, I plan to implement ordinances that we've already passed pertaining to these sectors, these areas of importance, para madali na lang isa katuparan, no? Dahil meron ng mandato. Yesterday, I met with the different groups that would be implementing these programs, and all of them seem to be very confident that we will be able to succeed in the next 100 days, these promises that I've made. But apart from services, I also would like to make changes in the way the city government is run. And the first thing I'd like to do is establish baseline data. I'm a scientist by profession. I'd like to be able to generate information so that the resources are not wasted, but they go towards targeted programs. No? And then second, I'd like to professionalize the bureaucracy, like I mentioned. I'd like to incentivize good and productive workers. At the same time, probably penalize those who are who don't do the right thing. I'd like to establish a feedback mechanism to generate people participation. And these are some of the things I'd like to do in the first 100 days.
Right. Now, you mentioned that you have the support of Vice Mayor. How would you describe the working dynamic between the both of you?
It's very easy to work with Mayor Joy. I've been with her since 2010, since she's been the vice mayor of the city council, and I served as one of the councilors for 9 years. We've created a lot of very good ordinances and resolutions that are not being implemented, maybe because of the difference in priorities. Like, meron kaming Batas QC app. It's an application wherein we're practicing transparency and accountability in the legislative branch. And aside from that, we've created different codes for the Quezon City, like the Environmental Code, which focuses on environmental campaign and protection. We were also able to pass the Anti-Drug Code of Quezon City under the leadership of Mayor Joy. And I'm just really grateful and thankful to be able to be a part of that and to be able to be given this opportunity to work with Mayor Joy and continue to focus on these advocacies.
We're both good governance advocates, and I think that's what makes us close to each other and work very well.
You're on the same page.
We're on the
Yes.
same page,
Yes,
and we know
yes.
what we want to do for our city and our people.
Right. Vice Mayor, you initially did not want to enter politics. It wasn't really in your plans. But because you have such a passion for public service, this is
Yes.
how you ended up doing that. Tell us more about your evolution as a public servant and as a politician.
It's very similar to Mayor Joy, to tell you the truth. We've talked a lot since we've been sharing ideas and creativities. Si Mayor Joy has always told me na it's a good thing, really, na hindi mo inambisyon pumasok sa politika. But because public service is something that is a duty for every one of us, it somewhat came natural to us. Kaya right now, the focus is to make the people realize that what we're doing here should not be focused on us. What we're doing here, our focus is really every Filipino citizen of Quezon City. And the focus is to give them a better future, to give them whatever they need. And the faster that they don't need us anymore, the better. Yun ang gusto namin.
All right. Well, first 100 days, all eyes are on you. Let's talk about some very timely issues. It's rainy season,
Yeah.
and some areas in Quezon City are notorious for really bad flooding. How is the local government of Quezon City planning to address this?
Well, first, in the area of flooded areas, there are really very low areas now. And I've consulted with the DPWH and some of the experts in terms of the problems of flooding, and they say these low-lying areas, they will really be flooded no matter how many interventions you put into place. So some of the solutions include probably just constant declogging of our drainage systems, probably dredging our waterways, no, to make them lower, and also immediate response when it comes to floods. Then the people must immediately be evacuated. No? So that would be one. The second, of course, is the protocols for suspending classes. And this is something that's very controversial. I've made mistakes in the past, but I redeemed myself last Monday, being the first one to suspend, having stayed up all night. The third is to make sure that all our health centers are stocked with medicines for leptospirosis. No? So it's the infrastructure, it's the welfare of our students, and it's their health as well that we have to address. And we are doing that now. This is the priority at the moment. And I've been meeting every day with our DRRM council for this.
Okay, let me ask this question to both of you, starting with Vice Mayor Gian. What can we expect from you in the next 100 days, or I guess 98 days since it's been 2 already?
Right now, Mayor Joy and I have been talking about the ordinances that we've already passed. And one of those ordinances, even that was the time of Speaker Sonny Belmonte, yung PAT ordinance. But it was passed, but it wasn't implemented properly. So we're focusing maybe on passing an ordinance which is called the Freedom of Information, FOI, ordinance in Quezon City. We're talking about passing that in this city council. Hindi naman as fast as we can, but to make sure that we have that continued drive on good governance and transparency. And aside from that, the mayor mentioned also that she wanted to pass the banning of single-use plastic para makabawas din sa baha, which will will also study in the coming days. And aside from that, we'll also continue to provide services that the people need and just continue to study to create more legislation for the city.
All right, Mayor.
Well, in as short as I can, a united city government. Because I think for the first time, our Sanggunian, under Vice Mayor Gian Sotto and myself, we are in the same page. We want the same things. We have the same dreams and ambitions for our city, and we look forward to bringing our people to higher levels of living, no? Higher levels of life in the next couple of years or days. Actually, the first 100 days.
That's right.
I'd like for the people to feel us in the first 100 days.
All right, I'm certain they feel that they want to feel you as well and really feel change and progress there. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. We really do appreciate your time, Mayor Joy Belmonte and Vice Mayor Gian Sotto of Quezon City. We wish you both the best.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Ria.
Ria.